You're listening to a very special podcast. Don't forget to subscribe via iTunes or YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at VeryPodcast and check out our website of veryspecialpodcast.tumblr.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special podcast. This is the podcast in which we watch all your favorite TV shows from yesteryear and then discuss them over a glass of wine. And tonight is a very special episode because we are watching America's favorite house guest, not Kato Kalin. Oh, wait. We're doing Charles in Charge, but
he's not a house guest. He's an employee, live-in employee.
All right, I fumbled there. So although he kind of seems like a house guest.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Anyway, I'm Patrick M. Dunn. You probably remember me from the previous 42 episodes. And I'm joined here, as always, by Kat Halstead, the author.
What up?
And, yeah, so we're going back to the 80s tonight. Mid-80s?
Yes, we are going back in time when Charles was in charge of our days and our nights.
All right, so
because we should want Charles in charge.
Of me?
Oh my god, I'm sober too.
All right, so I think now that we've already teased the episode that we're doing, we should probably go right into it. So, Charles in Charge, it premiered. We're doing the pilot episode, which aired on October 3rd, 1984, which was about 32 years ago. So take us through the premise, if you will.
So Charles in Charge is about a family who has 3 kids, 2 working parents. So they decide to hire a male college student to live in their house and babysit their kids when they have to go out to work functions and they're not around the house. So they hire Scott Baio.
He's a manny. He's not a nanny. He's a manny. Is that like a term?
He's a manny.
It's a real term, right? We're not being sexist here?
No, it's a real term. Well, I think it is maybe a little sexist, but I think it is used
appropriately. Is Charles a good nanny? Let's first off, let's get to that point, and then we'll kind of go into the episode.
Like, he cares about the kids. And that's kind of a major thing. You need to actually care about the kids.
What are his duties?
Gosh, I don't even know.
Because I watched this entire
make sure they eat their dinner.
I watched this entire pilot episode, and I don't think I saw him doing any work at all. Like, literally, he did nothing at all. He was getting ready for a date.
He didn't really do anything. Well, that's because the Pembroke said he could have his date over since it was supposed to be his night off, but they wanted him to watch the kids instead.
So he's a college student, and instead of living in a dorm,
I think he's just there. I think he's just there so there's an adult there.
I don't think he has actual tasks at hand to do. He just is there, in case
he's just there to take care of the kids.
In case the kids don't burn the house down accidentally or run away or do heroin or something. Have
a boy in their room or,
which happens in this episode. I mean, we're in the 80s sitcom world, so there's nothing too scandalous going on.
Oh yeah, not at all.
And if something did happen, it would definitely be a PSA at the end of it.
Oh yeah, it would be a very special episode of Charles in Charge.
Like if Lila brought home a boy who had a gun in his jacket. Or a joint.
Oh my god. Oh, it would be that you don't even see. Except for maybe you see just a little tiny piece of paper, the parents find it because it's basically smoked away already.
And all right, so the parents of the Pembrokes, so if you remember the show Charles in Charge, you probably remember the other family of the show?
The Powell family.
The Powell family. So the show premiered. It aired on CBS originally in the 1984-1985 season, and then I guess it didn't do too well.
Yeah, I don't think it did. Like, it didn't do great. It didn't do like bad. Like, they liked the idea. They liked Scott Baio and Willie Ames, and were like, hey, let's bring them back in the syndicated version,
which involved a whole new family.
Syndicated was like super hot in the 80s.
And so they brought in a whole new family. So the Pembrokes sold the house. They brought in the Powells, and the Powells basically inherited Charles.
Yeah, they didn't even sell the house. They like rented it out to the Powell family.
And it was like, as a stipulation, you have to let Charles live in your house.
Yeah, you guys, here's Charles. You get to keep him as your nanny.
He's the creepy guy who lives downstairs. Lock up your hot daughters, please. Like, if your daughter is Nicole Eggert...
Well, he dated one of them in real life.
Nicole Eggert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Scott Baio in real life, he, like, plowed through women in the 80s, I believe. He had, like, Pamela Anderson, like, in her prime, like, a really young Pamela Anderson. Nicole Eggert, do we know any others?
He had all kinds of women.
All right, so is he...
Sheila Kennedy, who was a Penthouse centerfold. He just dated a bunch of famous models and actresses in the 80s and 90s.
Basically, anyone who liked to show their nipples in print form, Scott Baio was on you at some point in the 80s. Probably.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so is Scott Baio handsome? Is he, like, considered handsome? Like, as a lady, what is your impression of Scott Baio?
Like, back in the day, Scott Baio, like, Chachi, Charles in Charge, Scott Baio. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, my God. Scott Baio was one of my first crushes.
I don't see it. He
was freaking hot. Oh, my God. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I just had a moment. It's okay. We're good now.
Reflected. Recharge the batteries.
Okay, moving on.
All right, so...
Yes, Scott Baio is handsome.
All right, so season 1 of Charles in Charge. It aired on...
But he's like 50-something.
How old is Scott Baio now? In his 50s?
He's in his like 50s.
And he just recently endorsed a presidential candidate.
Yes, he did. I mean, I don't know how surprised you were. I wasn't that surprised when he made his decision to endorse Donald Trump.
All right, so the first season of Charles in Charge, it aired on CBS, and they canceled it. So the show basically went dormant for an entire year, and then it returned in syndication in 1987. So I don't understand that concept. Like, I feel like that can't happen today. Like, mildly well-received show goes off the air for a year and then comes back with, like, the same set.
Mm-hmm.
And so they only kept Scott Baio and Willie Ames, and sometimes Jennifer Runyon came back as Gwendolyn Pears, who is Charles' girlfriend.
She came back like what? Right, maybe twice.
So they bring her back. They brought back like a new family, which became like the main family, like the one that everyone knows, basically.
Yeah.
And the Pembrokes are like a foot.
Like when you think Charles Sergeant Gov.
Yes, and the Pembrokes are like a footnote in history.
Yeah, they're just like, they existed, but you really don't know that much about them.
All right. So before we get into the episode, I just want to go over some famous guests that have been on Charles in Charge over the years.
Okay.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen was Charles' girlfriend Jennifer in a season 5 episode, which I believe is about 1990-ish. This is probably pre-Saved by the Bell.
Okay, so right around her Saved by the Bell.
Yeah. And
she was Charles' girlfriend?
Charles' girlfriend Jennifer on an episode called There's a Girl in My Ficus. And Paul Walker, RIP, Paul Walker, he played a friend of Sarah.
I feel like she'd be too young to play.
Well, she was probably a teenager in real life, and Charles kind of had a young looking vibe to him, so maybe it was okay. Or
Mhm.
maybe Scott Baio had a clause in his contract that said, like, I will only date characters on the show that are younger than me. Maybe he was grooming women to join the Playboy
Quite
penthouse
possibly.
world. That's another possibility. I mean, he's had like a lot of hot like girlfriends. Erica Eleniak. He dated Nicole Eggert in real life, and I believe wasn't there like their characters had like a weird sexual vibe between them.
There was always like a weird sexual tension between the girls and Charles.
Even in this episode,
But then again, okay, you're a teenage girl and you have this hot guy living in your house. Like, there's gonna be like some kind of reaction.
Like you might accidentally like walk into the bathroom and see his penis kind of reaction. Just say yes.
That could unfortunately happen.
Well, I know that happened. I know that happened a lot in 90210. Like I believe David had this like long-standing crush on Kelly Taylor, and then they eventually became brother and sister. And then one time he walked in on her while she was showering, and he saw her boobs. So I mean, I guess you can reverse role it here.
My ex-boyfriend's brother walked in on me getting dressed once.
All right, that must have been horrifying.
He lived in the house next door.
That must have been horrifying.
I was like, what the hell? I'm like, my door is closed. My blinds are closed. Why the hell are you walking in my house? I thought my brother was home because his car's here. He rode his bike to work. It's the middle of the day. He has a job at an office.
Oh, shenanigans. Bathroom shenanigans. All right. Our last famous guest on Charles in Charge was Paul Walker. Rip. He played a friend of Sarah Powell. Not only just a friend, and a literate friend.
Because there has to be a very special episode where somebody learns how to read.
All right, so Nancy Reagan, as you said, she was Just Say No. So who was like the president who was all about, or the president's wife who was all about reading?
Barbara Bush.
Barbara. So like, was there in like the late 80s, early 90s, was there like a deficit of teens who didn't know how to read?
If you look at 80s sitcoms, apparently, because there's always a teen who doesn't know how to read. And it's like, oh, everybody just like passed them along because nobody wanted to deal with it. Like, what? Do you not have testing for this? Like, come on.
All right, should we get into the episode?
No, let's get into this episode.
All right, so in case you haven't figured this out through a fuddle of wine, we are doing the Charles in Charge pilot. This is the first episode, the CBS episode, and the episode basically just opens in the fabulous Pembroke living room. This is like the coolest living room of all time. Yeah. So it kind of reminds me of the Brady Bunch living room because they have like the staircase with like the cool staircase, and then you can like it's like a loft kind of. You can see up over it, and you can see behind it. Yeah. And it's very spacious. There's a lot of room. You can fit the whole cast in this room. That's probably why, I guess, maybe they built that set.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? It actually feels a little claustrophobic because of the way because you've got the staircase in the middle and then you got that couch. Are you okay? You just really confused.
Well, I was trying to picture the arrangement. So they did the thing. Did they L-shape the couches? I'm trying to remember.
It's kind of like a U shape because it's round.
They do, and then they put a coffee table in the middle, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's facing a fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if you wanted to do a scene where you had all the cast members sitting, you can like kind of squeeze it in.
That's the way you'd want it, yeah.
Yeah. So the scene opens in the living room. Buddy Lembeck and Charles, they come busting through the front door. They are excited. They are proud. They are hip. There's excited news going on.
This is like the biggest day of their lives.
Because
this is like they have just hit the fucking jackpot.
Because Charles has a date with Gwendolyn Pierce.
Gwendolyn Pierce!
And she's the most awesomest babe in this college they go to, which is nearby. And so they're trying to figure out what to do. So Charles is like, do we go out? Should we stay in? Should we go somewhere far off so I can have some alone time? Buddy's like, no, we need to do, you need to go somewhere like close by where everyone can see you and you can kind of like strutter around. And Charles is like, he's conflicted basically.
Well, yeah, because Charles is like a good guy. He's like, really, you want me to like take her out and just prance her out in front of everybody? Like, oh hey, I'm with Gwendolyn Pierce.
And
when I could actually like take her on a nice date in a cozy little restaurant somewhere.
And I understand Buddy's reasoning behind it, but it's like, all right, so now let's say Charles had to go to the bathroom when he left the area. All these people that know Gwendolyn Pierce, they're going to like flock her.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to come up and they're going to be, it's Gwendolyn Pierce. Because she's like an enigma.
She's just like that girl that all the guys at this college, they want that chance with because they think she is going to bring them to the ultimate bliss.
And she's from out of town. She like lives far away, so she doesn't really know anybody. And she's been elevated to the status. So she's kind of like a goddess, and people are afraid to approach her.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what she kind of liked about Charles, is that he was kind of sentimental in a way.
Yeah, he's just like this nice guy who actually like was maybe a little nervous to talk to her, but didn't like come off like he immediately wanted to get her into bed.
Yeah, and that's like exactly what Buddy was trying to do. So Buddy is basically, he's the devil on the shoulder in this episode.
That's basically Buddy's existence throughout the entire series.
Yeah, he's like the devil on the shoulder, and Charles just needed an angel on the shoulder to kind of level the playing field. And he kind of like, he doesn't really agree with Buddy, but he kind of leans that way sometimes. He's like, you know what?
Because he's still a guy.
Yeah. He's like, all right, you're probably right. So I'm just going to listen to these dumb ideas that you suggest. So I'm trying to like figure out, like, is Buddy a ladies' man, or is he just kind of like a goon machine?
Buddy is that dorky guy who thinks he's a ladies' man, but really isn't.
So he's basically the goon machine, which I believe is his nickname, according to Lila.
The goon machine or something, yeah.
Charles has a date with Gwendolyn Pierce, and they decide to go out. They're going to go to some kind of restaurant or something, but then Jill Pembroke, who's like the boss / mom on the show.
Yeah.
She comes busting in. She's kind of like a yuppie mom. She works for, I believe, like a local newspaper. Yeah,
she does like reviews of movies and plays and stuff like that. So that's why one of the reasons they need Charles is because she goes into the city to see these plays.
So they just kind of need like a man just to be in the house at night. So they
just need somebody there with the kids. Yeah.
So the kids don't like break out or do drugs or stuff.
Or kill each other. Because you've got 2 boys and a daughter. They're going to kill each other. And
the daughter is in 8th grade, and the boys are in like elementary school aged.
There's probably like, I think the son Douglas, he's probably in like 6th grade, and the other kid's probably in like 4th or 5th.
Yeah, so like they're young, and Lila, who's in 8th grade, is like, she's probably old enough to take care of them, but she's kind of in her own world because she's trying to become popular.
Yeah.
She has these,
which is the desire of every young 15-year-old girl, let's be real.
True. And it kind of leads us into our next topic, which is the parallels of Charles and Lila's storyline in this episode.
Yes.
So, all right, so Charles is trying to obtain a romantic relationship with Gwendolyn Pierce, but on the other end of the spectrum, you have Lila Pembroke, who is the 8th grade charge of Charles.
Yeah.
And she got a study date with Alexander Morgan, who is the most awesomest, handsomest, best looking, just all around spectacular guy of the 8th grade class.
Yeah, he is like just the most. He is like the cutest boy in the class. He's the nicest boy. He is like that boy that every girl is sitting there going, oh, Alexander Morgan.
So she got like a
and every girl listening knows exactly what I mean. We all did it. We all elevated some guy to that level. And we're probably like sitting here going, oh yeah, well there was this guy. And it's like, why did we elevate this guy to that level?
So did you ever like write that guy's last name like next to your name just to see what it would look like?
Maybe, maybe, most
And name your
likely.
future children?
I don't think I named our future children.
Or play like he was part of your MASH games?
Oh yeah, he was totally part of my MASH game.
All right, so we have kind of like a parallel storyline going on. So we have Charles and Gwendolyn Pierce on one end, and then we have Alexander Morgan and Lila Pembroke. So
Yes.
the storylines are kind of crossing, and it gets very interesting because, all right, so this is a Michael Jacobs joint.
Yes.
He wrote the episode, and he went on to produce other shows like Boy Meets World in the 90s, Dinosaurs, The Torkelsons, and one of the things that his style is that he's known for doing like parallel storylines between different characters per episode.
Yes.
And
not just different characters in the episodes, because he's now doing Girl Meets World, which is the continuation of Boy Meets World. You get the parallels to the Boy Meets World storyline and characters within the new characters.
So he's like crossing two shows. He's comparing and contrasting, which is it's a very interesting concept. And like I think he kind of has a good grasp on the concepts that he's trying to convey too.
He knows what he wants to say. He has a very distinct style, and he knows the audience he wants to say it to.
Like as cheesy as this episode is, because it's pretty corny at points, but his message is across pretty clear. So we'll get into it as we go through the episode. So all right, so Jill Pembroke comes home. She has to go to New York City because they live in New Jersey, like a suburb of New Jersey. So she has to go into the city to review some play, and she just needs Charles to stay home that night.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be his night off, but he's like, well, he's totally down to like give up the date with Gwendolyn because he's starting to feel pressure from Buddy about it.
Yes,
and he's like, okay, yeah, I'll stay here. I'll watch the kids, whatever you want. It's all good. And Buddy has to like be like, Mrs. Pembroke, I'm his friend Buddy, and he has a date tonight. It's really not fair to make him work. And she's like, oh, you can have your date here.
I think he was secretly hoping that she would suggest that.
Yeah,
but he didn't just want to come out and ask for it. I mean, it's kind of rude. Like it's like, you're working, you're taking care of kids. Do you want a lady in the house?
Exactly. And that's Charles is actually kind of worried. He's like, but what will the children think? And she's like, Charles, we have cable TV. The children know everything.
And it's kind of funny to think about because Charles is probably like 19-ish.
Yeah, he's probably like 19 years old. And he's like away from home for the first time. And he's living with this weird family, taking care of their kids.
And so like there's not really much of an age gap between Charles and Lila. I mean, it's probably like 5 years.
It's like 4 or 5 years. Yeah, there's not much of a difference. Like there's a gap, but it's not that huge of a gap.
Like if Charles was 30 and Lila is 25, it would be like a normal relationship pairing. Like we'd be shipping them.
If they had continued with this cast, this family, and it had gone on, I very much could have seen Lila turning like 18 and her and Charles maybe having something.
Because, all right, so Alexander Morgan's coming out of the house. And Charles is like upset, and then she's like, "I don't want you to tell my parents because then I will stop having my
little crush on you,
my little childish crush on you." And he's like, "Oh, we don't want that to stop."
No, he didn't want that to stop. He kind of liked that idea that Lila has a little crush on him.
But Charles agrees to let Alexander Morgan come over and study with Lila, and Gwendolyn Pierce is also going to come over and I guess just eat Chinese food with Charles. I don't know what his whole plan was. As soon as she showed up, they had nothing lined up.
So they were just going to eat their Chinese food and sit in front of the fireplace?
Yeah, it's not like...
That's what people do on dates?
He didn't rent a movie because this is the 80s and they had cable, so they probably could watch HBO. But
what do people do?
Yeah, I'm he didn't have a date plan. And
they could have watched Dallas, maybe?
Yeah, it was probably a Friday night, right?
Yeah, let's discuss. It's a Friday night.
And they pretty much got in a fight right away, I believe.
Yeah, they start fighting. That's a great first date. Start fighting.
Like literally right off the bat, they started fighting.
Yeah.
Not even like in that far into it, because she was kind of like, well, I guess her expectations. She was kind of expecting Charles to be more into her, I guess.
I like to call him sincere.
And yeah, and his mind was all over the place because he was like worried about Lila upstairs with Alexander Morgan.
Yeah.
And he kind of wasn't paying too much attention to her. He was like all over the place. And then like when he started kissing her, she backed off and she's just like,
she
whoa.
freaked out because like they kissed and then like it got deeper and then she's like, oh my God, how dare you? How dare you deepen that kiss? Like, oh, how dare you?
That part would kind of bother me because I wasn't sure if like it was her trying to play an act or if that's how she really felt. So
yeah, I don't know. I was like weird, confused by that too. Like, but I think she didn't expect them to kiss so soon, maybe.
But the way they wrote it and filmed it, like it made it seem like she was into it. So like I didn't know, like, what was your take on that? Like being a woman.
Well, I thought she was into it, and then she like got freaked out because maybe she liked it more than she thought she would.
Like I don't know, maybe.
But she probably liked Charles more than she thought she would because she's been going out with all these guys, and all those guys tried to do is get into her panties.
Like maybe that's what she expected, and so she just
she probably expected Charles to just try and get into her panties,
and so she went along with it.
Charles is actually like the one nice guy on the planet, and he's worried about trying to keep a guy out of Lila's panties.
Like, do you think like the direction was wrong? Like the director like hyped up the scene wrong because like it looked like she was like into it, and then she was like, wait a second, like
I don't know.
I had a hard time like reading that scene, so I didn't know what you like from like a lady's perspective.
I mean, when I watch this, every time I watch it early in the morning. I don't know why I keep watching this early in the morning, but I'm always just like, why? Like, why is she like she came on this date and she likes Charles and they kiss and she kisses him back and then she gets mad. I was confused by that too. It was weird.
I mean, I guess the way that I kind of read into it was, all right, so they kind of started kissing, but I guess maybe Charles seemed like he was distracted because he was worried about what was going upstairs.
And I don't think she liked the attention not being on her because she's used to getting all that attention. And
so he basically ends up tricking one of the kids, I believe Jason, to like kind of just like hang outside the door.
Yeah, well, he tells Jason he's allowed to spy on Lila. And he's the little brother. The little brothers love to spy on the older sibling.
And then you have that
Didn't
weird
your
thing.
Little brother like to spy on you?
Yeah, probably. I don't remember.
Mine did.
But you have that like weird thing where you hear the dialogue, but it's not really describing what's really going on.
Yeah.
So Jason was kind of like reading the dialogue back to Charles. And it sounded like a sexy situation.
But they don't understand what's going on.
So Charles runs upstairs and he goes into Lila's bedroom. And so Lila basically was trying to seduce Alexander Morgan, but he literally just wanted to like learn math.
Yeah, he just wanted help with his math. The poor boy just wanted to be able to solve for X. That's all this boy wanted. And Lila is like this girl he thought he could help.
And
because she does well in school. And she's all like trying to like make it a date. She ordered Chinese food. She added it to Charles's order, and
she's playing sexy.
She did her best like 15-year-old cute sex pot type for 1984.
She's playing this music, like this sexy music, and Alexander Morgan is like, "Can you turn the music down? It's distracting me from learning." And then Lila gets pissed off. She's like, "I thought like you were here because we're going to become a thing, and then I was going to be popular." Like, was she really into Alexander Morgan, or did she just want to be popular?
I think she wanted to be popular, and Alexander Morgan is the key. He's the one they made popular. And he's like, I don't know why I'm popular. I just went to school one day, and the girls decided I was the cute one.
He is like the Konami code of getting to the next level. And she'll now be like at a Kelly Taylor level.
Yeah.
And super popular in her school. Well, I mean, popularity is important, I guess, if you're like 14, 15 years old, that is your end game. It's not like what else is there to look forward to?
Yeah, because you want that status because that means people like you, or at least you think that's what it means.
I mean, I know in hindsight it really doesn't matter, but
Yeah,
when you're 14, 15 years old and your only like landscape is a school setting and you got that small sampling of people who are just like considered cool,
exactly.
and you want to strive to be part of that circle, I guess. So that was Lila Morgan. What's Lila Morgan? Why did I say that?
Lila Morgan, that's like a name from General Hospital.
Okay, Lila Pembroke.
Yes, there we go.
All right, so that is Lila Pembroke's end game, is just to be popular in New Jersey, of all places.
I mean, her hair wasn't that big. She couldn't have been that popular.
I mean, she looks like she could have been popular
Yeah.
based on like appearances.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think it would have been that much of an issue. Like, she had personality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she probably could have weaseled her way into it instead of trying to seduce a poor boy who's bad at algebra.
Doesn't even know why he's popular and doesn't want the popularity. He's like totally freaked out about the whole thing.
Yeah, like he just doesn't like it. It's like someone who became famous overnight. It's like he's in a weird position.
Yeah.
He's like, I just want to do good at school. I don't want to be this like myth.
Yeah, there's like this whole like these girls have built this like image of him up in their minds that he is just like this dreamy, sweet, nice, perfect jock guy that they should be with. And he's just like, so he's kind of awkward, kind of dorky. He's nothing like he's cute, but he's not what the girls think he is.
He was kind of timid compared to like
Yeah.
I feel like Gwendolyn Pierce was confident.
Yeah.
She kind of like she was empowering, but Alexandra Morgan was just kind of timid and reserved.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we get the most interesting scene of the episode. So then we kind of have like a swap where, so now it's like the guys huddle up and the girls huddle up. So now you have you have Charles and Alexandra Morgan, and you have Lila and Gwendolyn Pierce downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll start with Charles because he's in charge of the show. And so you have Charles and Alexandra Morgan, and Alexandra Morgan basically like breathes his heart out to Charles. He's like, I don't want to be this cool dude who like
I just want to do my homework.
Yeah, like he's just like, I'm in 8th grade.
He just wants to pass math class. That's all this poor boy wants is to pass his math class.
He's like, I might have horrible acne next week. We don't know what's going to happen to me. And
I just want to be able to solve for X.
So Charles kind of has this like eye-opening experience, but meanwhile downstairs, the same thing happens with Gwendolyn Pierce and Lila. Mm-hmm. Where Gwendolyn Pierce is like, she's like, I'm tired of just being a name. She's like, to Lila, she's like, you have brains and beauty. And she's like, I'm not that smart as you. I wish I could have like your smarts. You just need to not focus on being like this cool vixen of your school.
Yeah.
You need to like promote what you have. And she's like, you know what, Gwendolyn, you're right. And they all get together and have ice cream, basically.
Well, there's the kitchen scene between Charles and Gwendolyn where they get all into it about his sincerity. And he's like, stop calling me sincere. Because I don't know how sincere I am, Gwendolyn, because I just want to kiss you. And
she wanted to kiss him back too, but he mostly just wanted to kiss her because he was like, Buddy Lembeck had it in his mind that like he had to like go for it. And you know what? They could have just like played it cool for like a few dates. Just kind of been chill, and he could have like been sincere and kind of like weasel his way in. But I guess the whole like moral of the show is you just don't want to be poisoned by outside interference.
Yes, that is our lesson for today.
Yeah, so just kind of like go with the flow, do your own thing. Don't let your shitty, stupid friends interfere and force you to do things that you don't want to do.
Exactly.
And as a sidebar, should we talk about the horny parents?
Oh my god, those parents. Oh my god. Parents come home. It's only like 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
These
so
parents come home.
it must have been like
From a play in New York City.
It must have been a horrible play to be home at
Yeah,
9
they
o'clock.
must have just like, she must have been like, no, we're not sitting through this piece of garbage. We're going back to New Brunswick or wherever they live.
So they fly back to this New Brunswick-like community.
Yeah.
And they get home like right when Charles, Gwendolyn, Alexander Morgan, Lila, and the other two kids decide to go out for
ice cream.
Because everything kind of like neatly wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
And like the mom's like, oh, maybe we should go for ice cream too. And the dad's like, no.
We'll have the house with all alone, no children.
And she must have just been so deprived of sex that she like didn't pick up on it. So she's like, no, but I really like ice cream. And he's like, no, Jill, you don't get it. There's nobody in the house.
Just you and me.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh. And then like the door closes and everyone's outside and the Pembroke parents are like inside and he's like, I'm so glad we hired Charles. And then like it cuts to like the other side of the door and it's Charles and he's like, I know, me too. And like you get like he like drapes the jacket over his shoulder and you get that weird like freeze frame.
Yeah. Well, doesn't he have to toss his keys in the air or something like that?
Yeah, I think he does like that cool like simultaneous
that cool like 80s guy thing.
That like Tom Cruise like flips a bottle and catches it at the right time move from a cocktail. That kind of move.
Yeah.
And you get like that cool freeze frame, and then you cut to like the theme song, like the closing credits theme song version of it. So that's basically Charles in Charge. The pilot. Did I miss anything of note?
Missed the part with the dad warning Charles that the one thing he didn't want to hear from Gwendolyn was, honey, I'm late.
Okay, so this was like earlier in the episode before the parents went out to the play and they're like in the kitchen and the kids are eating dinner and Charles is like prepping for his date and Mr. Pembroke decided he wanted to kind of give Charles like the sex talk, like the
like a man-to-man little like reminder.
Yeah, but it was 1984 CBS, so they like couldn't probably explicitly like say sex on TV.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, it's a Michael Jacobs production, so I don't feel like he will go as far as the network boundaries will allow.
Yeah, and it was pretty like tiptoeing and awkward in a way because he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you the talk," and he's like,
"Charles, I'm 35 years old. I'm not your father, but you've been with us how long? 3 months? I feel I can talk to you. Do you understand what I'm telling you?"
You're telling me there are young, impressionable children here, and I should be careful.
No, I'm telling you to be careful because you're a nice young man with your whole life in front of you, and the last thing you want to hear right now is...
Honey, I'm late.
It's like the mic drop moment.
It's the mic drop moment. Mr. Pembroke decides he's not saying anything further.
I don't think he needs to.
Charles gives like an agreeing nod. He's like, okay. I totally get what you're saying because I'm 19 years old. I'm not your like 10-year-old son.
Yeah.
I've had like that weird, awkward sex ed class of like 6th grade times. And I mean, kudos to Charles because he, as far as we know, he didn't try anything foolish because he had like all the kids with him.
Well, to be fair, Charles really did not want to do anything that would freak out the kids or the kids might see.
That is true. I mean, I know he had like his own section of the house, so he could have like...
Yeah, he has like his own room, but those kids will just walk into it. It's like my stepmom and my nephew just walk into my room all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you're an employee of the house, too. It's not like he's like a relative of the Pembrokes.
Yeah.
So he pretty much was like on the clock. So it's like you're not getting your dick wet on the clock.
Exactly.
So I guess kudos to Charles, and Buddy was probably disappointed the next day.
Probably.
I believe actually the second episode is like the day after the date. And I believe like the first scene, Buddy's like, "Oh my god, what happened? You gotta tell me what happened. Like, what did you do?" And Charles is like, "Nothing. We went out for ice cream." And he's like, "No." And he's like, "You did it wrong."
But that's the thing. It actually worked. Charles gets Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is Charles's girlfriend basically after this.
For like the whole season until the show got canceled and Jennifer Runyon just decided to not be an actress anymore.
Yeah.
Although Jennifer Runyon, I believe, is our podcast favorite because she played Cindy Brady in the Brady Bunch Christmas.
Yes, she did.
And I believe she has like a 1-episode stint on 90210. I think she appeared as a character on 90210.
And she was in, I believe, Ghostbusters.
The first one?
The first one, I think, yeah.
All right. Will we have to do a spinoff of Jennifer Runyon?
I think we pretty much have already covered it all.
Yeah, we probably have. All right. Do you have any last-minute thoughts on Charles and George?
Can we talk about the parents' age?
They are 35, I believe.
Yeah. Can we talk about how old they are right now?
34.
Yeah.
So they're a year older than us.
Are a year older. They have 3 kids, careers,
and a Manny.
And a Manny.
And a house in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Like, not just a house, but like a fancy house.
Yeah, a fancy house. The dad wears like 3-piece suits. Mom usually wears suits.
Her hair's done up after 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Like, she works for a newspaper, so she's probably like home, like writing all day, like in a typewriter. But she does her hair up anyway. All she has to do is just go to New York to a play. She doesn't have to dress up. Her husband doesn't have to dress up.
There's a little bit of a dress code, I think.
Is there? I mean, you're almost a New Yorker.
Yeah.
You're more than a New Yorker than I will ever be, so I don't know. I've never been to Broadway.
Yeah, you definitely, you don't go in like your yoga pants and Giants t-shirt to see a show on Broadway. You wear something nice. You know, I didn't, like, I mean, I've seen stuff on Broadway and we always dress nice.
So, do we know what the father does on the show?
I want to say, like, Wall Street stuff.
Of course.
A lawyer.
I mean, why else would he wear a suit after 3 p.m.?
Yeah. Yeah. He's not a high school teacher.
You know how like a high school teacher wears like the short sleeve shirt with the tie?
Yeah.
He's got like a full-blown suit on.
Yeah, he's got like the suit with the vest and it's got the pocket watch.
It does
it's, like,
have the pocket.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I'm sitting here going, they're like a year older than me. What?
Then,
the 80s are so weird.
Then after this year, they were able to move out of the house, not sell the house, but rent it out to another family and keep Charles on the payroll.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they would have charged the Powells. Like, you're going to be like, you got to have to pay this kid to, like, live here.
Actually, I think the Powells were the ones who had to pay Charles.
All right, so they not only did they have to move in and rent a house that they don't own, but they
have to keep this guy living in their basement.
And pay him.
Pay him.
I want to know, like, the financials of this show.
I want to know, like, how that works. Like, you guys have to keep Charles. He'll babysit your kids. He'll give them advice.
Like, how
but you
much?
Gotta pay him, and he has to live here.
How much did Charles make? I wonder. Like, did he make minimum wage?
Sure, like,
or more? Like, could he pay for his
minimum wage because he also lived there?
Like, could he have paid for his whole schooling from living at the Pembroke
in the 80s? Maybe.
Estate? Yeah, probably.
Maybe. Today, no way in hell, but
yeah, it's an enigma. I wonder if like they thought this through.
probably not.
All right, so we should get into what we're going to be doing next week, our next episode.
What are we doing next?
All right.
We're doing the music video.
All right, so we are going to do, we occasionally break into music videos, only because we don't want to bore you with television. Every now and then we throw in a movie or a music video. And the last time Kat picked a music video, it was Reba McEntire, a song that I did not know. So I wanted to retaliate with.
We're terrible people to each other.
We truly are. We secretly hate each other.
What, 18 years of friendship?
Yes, we secretly hate each other, and we just decided to. She did Reba McEntire. I was like, I never heard this before. So my pick for music video, and I feel like we can probably draw a lot from it. So it's called "The Homecoming Queen's Got a Gun." It's by Julie Brown, not downtown Julie Brown, but the red-haired Julie Brown. So you can find that on YouTube.
Check out our website, a very special podcast.tumblr.com, our Twitter @verypodcast. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes. Anything else?
YouTube.
Oh, yes, the YouTube. I got to update that. I got to find my files for that.
No worries. You can find us on YouTube. You can just search for a very special podcast. We get 42 videos. It comes up pretty easily. So find us there. Go to our website. Sometimes we do articles, history of television, all kinds of fun stuff. And I guess, as always,
bye.
Until next time.